The film starts with Nora and Alec driving through a lonely country road. Since Nora wants to take a leak, the couple stops by a way station. However, nobody's there, and it's closed. So, Nora decides to check the back and see if there's a restroom. Once at the back of the building, Nora discovers what seems to be the remains of a campsite. Despite proper hygiene protocols, she rummages through the pile of trash and sees a weathered wallet and phone. Since they're useless, Nora tosses them aside and relieves herself. She fails to realize that just a few feet away, a human skull is happily chilling and peeping at her. After successfully emptying her bladder, she returns to the car, and the couple continues their journey. Nora tells Alec about what she found behind the way station. Like every other main character in a horror movie, Alec brushes it off, believing it's nothing they should be worried about. He instead focuses more on their impending need to refuel. Further down the road, the couple stops to help a woman with car problems. Alec offers to help her, and she accepts. While Alec works on the car, the woman asks Nora if they're married. Weirded out by the question, Nora tells her it's none of her business. The woman gets triggered by Nora's answer, so she switches to Karen mode and insults the couple. When Alec fails to fix her car, Karen gets angrier. In the end, the couple returns to their vehicle and leaves the woman behind. Nora makes it a point to say that people like that woman are why she hates the countryside. Not long after that, the couple stops by a diner to have a meal. When the waitress comes to take their order, Nora orders coffee, and Alec goes for water. When asked what they want to eat, the couple orders burgers. After eating, the couple quickly leaves after they notice a man staring intensely at them. As Nora passes him, the man suddenly stands up to warn her that they're not safe where they are. Like a good horror movie heroine, Nora ignores the warning and rushes to leave. While driving, Alec expresses his concern about what happened in the diner. Nora brushes it off, saying the guy was just the village weirdo. After a while, the couple stops by a gas station to refuel. As he's paying, Alec asks the cashier if there are any hotels nearby. The cashier tells him about a place that offers rental cabins just down the road. Despite Nora's objections, Alec decides to check out the place that the cashier recommended. They arrive at the place, and Nora gets creeped out. She tells Alec they should leave, but he doesn't listen. The two go up the stairs to explore, thinking the place is empty. They eventually meet the cabin owner, who asks if they want a room. After Alex says they are, the cabin owner guides them to a cabin nearby. The owner and Alec get into a conversation, which Nora eventually interrupts. She rudely sends the owner away, even if he only wants someone to talk to. When the owner leaves, Nora says she finds him weird, just like everyone she's met that day. By the looks of things, this woman probably finds anyone not from the city strange. While the couple continues talking, failing to notice the bloodstained sheet from a nearby bed. Of course, the couple didn't see it. Otherwise, the movie would have been over at that point. As the couple slept later that night, a man wearing a sheep mask appeared out of nowhere. The man looms over the couple, and Nora wakes up inside a flimsy dog cage the following day. Scared, Nora tries to free herself but is too weak and struggles to break free from a cage that my chihuahua can easily rip apart. A man with a goat mask appears and tells her to shut up. The goat man leaves, and Nora finds a small rock. She tries to break the lock with it, but fails miserably. The goat man returns with the cow man, who carries a metal container. The cowman then pours some sort of liquid over Nora's head. Nora later wakes up in one of the barns. She's surprised to find herself strapped to a chair and spreading her legs. The rabbit man appears and starts prepping a syringe. He then forcefully sticks it inside Nora's vajayjay. She can only let out muffled moans of pain as the rabbit man artificially inseminates her. Goat and cow man return and carry Nora outside the barn. They transport her using a cart, and during that time, a dazed Nora sees other masked people doing chores. She even sees one butchering the corpse of a man. Eventually, the masked men bring her in and lock her up in a stable. Sometime later and elsewhere on the farm, Alec wakes up and finds himself in a cage too. He has no clothes and has a gag in his mouth. Alec is not alone. There are other men in the barn, and they are in the same situation as him, maybe even worse. The masked men arrive and start preparing to do something to the other captives. Alec can only watch in fear as the masked men start securing the others with a control stick and bonking them with a hammer. Alec tries to escape, but he is also too weak to break free from the flimsy dog cages. The masked men turn their attention to him, and Alec gets bonked on the head despite his resistance. His body, along with the other captives, gets transported to the slaughterhouse for further processing. It turns out that the entire compound is a farming facility of some sort. It's full of people wearing animal masks and silently doing their part to raise human beings as livestock. They capture males and harvest their meat, while the women milk cows. The man behind the entire operation turns out to be the owner of the cabin rentals, whom we will call the cabin lord from now on. He seems to be using the meat from his human farm for the food used in his catering service for weddings and other events. While taking an order that requires more meat, a worker informs the cabin lord that they lack men to harvest meat. As a result, he decides to use one of the women instead. The cabin lord goes to the dairy barn, where several cages holding lactating women are present. He inspects the production and sees one of the milking women with a baby. The cabin lord orders his minion to take the baby and weigh it. Once that's done, the worker smashes the baby on the ground and throws its body away. Once the men leave, the mother cries hysterically about losing her child. The weird man from the gas station, whose name turns out to be Andrew, tries to console the crying woman. He treats her like a pet. Angry, the captive woman lashes out at Andrew. It makes him angry. Andrew admonishes the woman, calling her a bad human and saying what happened is her fault. Further into the day, a worker enters the barn and discovers that Andrew killed a woman. He reports it to the cabin lord, who then expresses his disappointment with Andrew's actions. He then orders his minions to find him. Meanwhile, at the women's barn, Nora meets another captive, a woman getting milked by a machine. She tries to ask what's happening, but the other woman tells her she doesn't want to know. She also says there is no way out of the hellhole they're currently in. Nora then learns that the people who run the place are the ones who spied on Humankind at the rest stop they passed earlier. As for the other woman, she's been captive for 2 years and used for breeding all that time. It seems they kept breeding her to the point where she could no longer get pregnant. Then, Nora hears another crying voice and learns it's from another captive named Ashley. Nora promises her they'll escape, but Ashley says it's impossible. She believes that the masked men will always find them in the end. Elsewhere on the farm, the masked man looking for Andrew finds him playing with decapitated heads. While Andrew pleads that it wasn't his fault, he gets dragged to the cabin. The cabin lord scolds Andrew for leaving the gas station and reminds him not to play with food. As punishment, he sends Andrew to work under the supervision of another masked worker. They have to feed the male livestock. While doing so, Andrew accidentally tips the pot and spills the food inside it. Scared of more punishment, Andrew runs away, and the other worker chases him to the greenhouse. Andrew grabs some oregano and gives it to the cabin lord once he runs into him in the kitchen. The worker chasing Andrew arrives, and the cabin lord orders him to dispose of the women who can no longer produce milk. Nora watches in shock as a masked worker butchers another woman in front of her. Feeling immense despair, Nora collapses on the floor. However, she soon recovers her spirit after a blood-soaked Alec arrives. Reunited, the couple gets out of the stable and sneaks past the masked man they meet on their way. They manage to make their way across the farm and find a truck they can use to escape. Nora tries starting it, but since there's still a lot of time left for the movie, the vehicle doesn't start. As a result, the couple is forced to continue moving and avoid the masked farmers. Eventually, they enter a church and finally rest for a bit. It seems the church has been customized to fit the theme of the farm too. A few moments later, they hear someone coming and quickly hide. A masked man enters the church and starts to pray. The couple uses the opportunity to escape, but since they don't have proper stealth training, they alert the praying farm worker. The worker pursues the couple and rings a bell to alert the rest of the workers. As for the couple, they run into trouble. Alec gets caught in a bear trap, and since none of them could escape the flimsy dog cage earlier, he sure as hell can't free himself from the trap. Realizing this and seeing that the workers are coming, Nora does the only thing she can do, break up with Alec. She then watches from a distance as the workers drop a rock on her boyfriend's head. Nora then takes shelter inside the male captive's barn. She hides behind a wall as the cabin lord and Andrew enter. A male prisoner sees her and tells her to escape. Nora talks to the male captive, asking how to get out of the farm. While he hesitates, the man eventually tells Nora about the bus used by the workers to deliver their captives. He also tells her about the location of the bus's keys. Nora, being a jerk, leaves the man who helped her behind and goes to a lot filled with cars. There, she bonks a worker on the head and steals a car. Nora tries to get away using the vehicle, but the director says not so fast. The gas runs out, and Nora is forced to continue running on foot. Due to lazy script writing, Nora ends up back at the women's barn, where she frees Ashley. The two then join forces to escape and locate the bus that the male captive talked about earlier. Nora goes inside a nearby house to get the bus keys. When they return to the bus, Nora focuses on starting the vehicle while Ashley attempts to take a seat. Ashley freezes, and Nora, who finally manages to start the bus, turns around. Much to her surprise and disappointment, she sees the bus filled with farm workers. Sometime later, the farm workers gather for a meal. On the menu are Nora and Ashley. Roasted and accompanied by the classic apple and some fresh greens. It seems the farm workers like their meat slightly on the raw side. Subscribe for more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like, it really helps the channel.